I know.
All right. There we go. Welcome to another Skull Sessions podcast. I'm your host, Dan Henk. And today, is it Jack Minster or John Minster?
John James Minster.
Okay. All right. So, John James Minster, welcome. And why don't you tell us what you have out and what you have going on?
Okay. Well, thanks, Dan. Glad to be here. Especially from a preeminent tattoo artist. I have one that I got before you were even conceived. Okay. We're talking 1979 tech. You want to see it?
Sure. No, I was born in 72. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. So, I
Oh,
would have
man,
been
you look
around.
young. You look young. Okay. There it is. It's upside down.
What is it?
See, that's the thing. Everybody, I tell people it's patio furniture, and they believe it, right?
Right. Yeah.
If you can guess what it is,
I have
uh,
no idea. I have no idea. I'm not even gonna try.
if you can guess what that is, I will on my social media broadcast this podcast and introduce you as the greatest tattoo artist in America today.
Right. Well, that's the same.
But if
I don't
you
know.
don't,
I did for a while. I did cartoons for a tattoo artist magazine, and it
yeah,
kind of chronicled like the life and times of Earl Banks, which is like he also known as Mike Malone's like a famous old school tattoo artist.
yeah,
And I remember and they're all told by his apprentice Keith Underwood. So Keith would tell me stories, and I like turn into a comic strip. And there was one where Keith was taking like he was like a fresh like early 20s tattoo artist. He's taking pictures of all his work. And I mean, this is back when you didn't have digital, so it's all like Polaroids or whatever. And Roland Banks like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, well, I just want to be popular. I want people to see my stuff." And he goes, "Let me tell you, being popular in the tattoo world is like being top fly on a pile of shit."
yeah. Well, you're in California, right?
No, I'm in New York.
Oh, New York. Okay. I don't know why I thought California. I mean, I've seen when I'm driving along the 101 in Northern California. I've seen. I'm in Pennsylvania most of the time, but Philly. But
I tattooed in Philadelphia actually, but I tattooed in PA too.
oh,
I
really?
tattooed in Philly at Deep Six, which was Paul Ecker's shop, and I tattooed at Third Dimension Tattoo in East Stroudsburg, which is Brian Murphy's shop.
Oh man, yeah, that's a Bigfoot sightings there in Stroudsburg, right?
I,
Yeah,
I didn't personally see Bigfoot, but yeah, that would have been awesome. I lived on the top of a mountain, so I thought
yeah,
that was pretty cool.
yeah. There's a lot, a lot of mountains there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I got it in Willow Grove at Sailor Nick's back in 1979. Um, but yeah, back old ink and old materials. So
Yeah.
you,
Well,
you
it's amazing how many people will recall Sailor this or Sailor that. But like a lot of early tattoo artists they tattooed like at like ports, like near ports or bases. And when the sailors would come home, that was their source of income because like the sailors had all this money that they accrued while they were like, out for like a month or whatever,
yeah,
and they're like, all right, I'm going to blow on tattoos, strippers, and booze. So like the
yep,
tattoo artists were fighting to get the money right before they blew it all on strippers and booze.
yeah. That's how it was. Now, oh my gosh, it's, we were weirdos. Like back in 1979, I was in high school. We were weirdos. We were the yeah. I went to tech school, vocational technical school, half the
Okay.
time, and half the time in the academic school. So we'd spend 9 weeks doing tech things, and then we'd come back, and that student body would view us as like leather jacketed thugs. They just
What
it
for
was
going
like,
to a tech school?
yeah, yeah. They,
Well, as opposed to like a quote real college.
yeah, as opposed to academics or sports or they had the cool crowd, then they had the techies. So we were techies. We were the only
Oh
ones
yeah.
with tattoos back then, so pretty much they were all sort of afraid of us. They were, the regular students at back at the high
Well,
school
I kind
with
of
us.
sympathize. Like people weren't afraid of us, but like I was like super punk rock in the '90s, like blue mohawks, biky leather jacket,
Oh yeah.
combat boots, like the whole 9 yards. Like I looked like a British punk rocker. Like I should be the Sex Pistols, you know. And we had like a small crew where we're like all punk rockers. We're all like skinny little kids, basically. And the jocks used to torment us
Oh yeah.
relentlessly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the jocks always looked down. We had some pretty awesome jocks in my school. I hung out with uh, Marvis Frazier and his sister Jackie. Their father was Smoking Joe, the world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
The
Joe
only,
Frazier, yeah.
yeah, Joe was the only one to actually knock out Muhammad Ali. And yeah, he used to come to school all the time to watch his
Muhammad Ali is still one
sports.
of my favorites.
Oh yeah, oh
He's an awesome guy. Just his whole fucking story. You
yeah.
know.
So much personality, so
Oh
eloquent,
yeah.
you know. But Joe was quiet. Joe Frazier, I'd see him all the time. He'd come to school just to support his kids in sports day and stuff like that. Very quiet guy, nicest guy on the planet. I mean, sweet, sweet man.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, it seems like once you can fight, people don't fuck with you.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh no.
like I got my nose broken, my skin has like 3 times. I used to get beat up all the fucking time. And the last straw was when I got stabbed by a crackhead. I was like, I gotta learn how to fight.
Yeah.
So like then I started taking Taekwondo and then eventually Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. And I've gotten in like 2 fights in like 30 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because you're essentially a nice guy, so you're not looking for trouble. But when it finds you, you're ready. So
Yeah, but you're like a 130-pound kid, you're all nervous,
yeah.
and you like put up these like pretenses, and people are like, I can see right through you. You're like, fuck.
Yep. Oh no, it affects us all. Bullying is awful. And it happens to us all. It happened to me. I was a skinny kid, but then between the ages of 15 and 16, I got hooked up with a bodybuilding gym. Filled with all these monster men,
Right.
and they kind of took me under their wing. And I even got a key to the place. So I worked out 365 days a year, Christmas, Thanksgiving,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
and added about 30 pounds of lean muscle to my frame. And after that, the bullies left me alone, because they knew I could crush them really. At
Right.
that point, I was a monster. Um, but yeah, it's funny how bullies shape us, right?
Yeah, no, it's a last thing I'll say because I want to focus on you. But when I write, like often like all the stuff that I went through as a kid, like I had super conservative religious parents, I'm neither, and like all like I had police press false charges against me, like I smoked a cigarette over a bridge and a neighbor called the police and said there's a suspicious looking character lighting himself on fire. Cops showed up, dragged me to jail, charged me with arson, fingerprinted me,
Yeah.
photographed me, and I told my parents I was like trying to go, hey, I wasn't doing anything. My parents didn't care. They didn't believe me. They believed the cops.
Ah, jeez. Yeah.
But like that kind of stuff happened all the time. So like all that stuff like it feeds into my writing now. So it's like at least I feel like I have like a big backstory to draw from.
Well, hopefully by now you've had mercy on them. I mean, we all screw up, and you've forgiven them. But
What my parents? No,
yeah,
no. I was in the hospital with brain cancer, and it was a surprise to everyone. They said we have to operate in 4 days. You have about a 50-50 chance of making it. And
oh,
I called my parents, and they go, "Well, we come see you, but last minute tickets are expensive, so fuck them."
I think you've reached out quite a bit. Maybe it's time they reach out to you. Wow. Well, and hopefully they're seeing your success because
Oh, I told them one time, like when they call, like if I see the call ID, I just don't answer. But sometimes I pick up, I'm like, fuck, it's my parents. So I remember like one time mom was like, oh, how's it going? I was like, oh, great. I didn't shop. Everything's going good. She goes, oh, but you're around such horrible people. I was like, Mom, they're better than you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, I haven't seen him in like 20 years. Like I talk to him occasionally, but I've not seen him in person in like 20 years.
how can you judge someone you've never met? You don't know their actions, their thoughts, their words.
Right. Well, I think that it goes with being like real conservative and real religious. Like I don't care what religion you're part of as long as you're like a decent person. But when
Yeah,
you
exactly.
start like judging other people and telling them what they should do,
Yeah,
that's a problem.
can't do that. If you are, religious is a loaded term, but if you love God, then you don't judge people because that's God's job. You try to help people, you be nice to everyone you meet until it's time not to be nice, like you and I've experienced at times in our lives.
Right.
But you generally spread love, and to judge people, that ain't my job.
Well,
It's not your
the
parents'
thing
job either.
the thing is like economically I'm pretty conservative, but socially I'm super liberal. Like I don't care if you're gay, I don't care if you're transgender. I don't care. Live your life. Whatever makes you happy is what makes you happy. You
Yeah,
know,
that's politically that's called libertarian, right?
yeah, that's usually I voted for Joe Jorgensen the last election. Yeah.
Yes,
I
yes.
voted for Gary Johnson before that. I voted in every election. Like my guy never wins, but I vote.
Yeah, I know. It's a two-party system, unfortunately you sort of have to align with one in some form or another in order to get your beloved candidate over the top. That
Right, well, I tell people are like, oh, he's all rigged. Who cares? I don't like those people. I'm like, well, if you don't vote, you can't complain. I don't care if
Well,
your guy loses or not, but at least vote.
that's
Like
what I
half the
tell
country doesn't vote.
I tell people. Sew your lips up because
Yeah.
you know you didn't do anything. You didn't even. People view voting as a right and not a duty. So yeah, if you don't do your duty, you can't complain. No one's going to.
Last thing I'll say about this is like you should see like where I live is in Long Beach, so there's like a bunch of like in the voting places at a church, so they have like some real conservative people. When I walk in, it's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's so wrong. It's to judge a book by its cover is so dumb. It
Well,
really,
you can say about a million things, yeah, but
yeah. It's like this whole racism crap. If we're all programs, right? Let's say there's a programmer. I know you're not religious, but let's say there's this programmer and he inserts these programs into different boxes. Some are black, brown, red, yellow, whatever. Who cares about the box? Your interest should be in the program. That's
right.
it. That's
No,
it.
that's what I agree with. That's what I'm big on. Is like, what do you do? Like, what are your accomplishments as a person? Who the fuck cares what you look like?
Yeah, it's dumb. I don't do it. I don't do it. I don't look at a person. Now I look at their actions.
Yeah,
It's like if someone shows you who they are, believe them. you know,
right.
you show me who you are, I'll believe it. But yeah, words. Everyone has words. It's like okay,
All right,
show.
well let's concentrate on you. We could probably talk about this stuff all day. I did a
Yeah,
political cartoons for like a year and a half. I could like
yeah.
bore you to death about this stuff.
I
But
love it.
what do you have out right now, and what do you have going on?
So yeah, I appreciate you asking. I published, self-published in 2018, two horror novellas, and I made those G-rated. So even kids could read them. They're scary,
Isn't
but
it kind of hard to do a G-rated horror story?
it sort of was for me because I am not a G-rated person by nature. Okay, but I did it that way. Just like Neil Gaiman.
Right.
I think he's the best living writer at his.
He's one of my favorites. Yeah, he's awesome.
He really
Did
is.
you hear what's the new one? The Something by the Lake. The new novel he has out. It's awesome.
Oh, she shoot. You know more than I do.
No, it's like I've been following him. Like I met him when I wanted to be a comic artist back when I was like 16,
Wow.
and he was at a local comic shop. This is like I don't know. This was like 1990, 1989, and he was
Yeah.
like at a local comic shop, and he's like wearing like a leather jacket, looked like a member of the Ramones, and he had like his curly black hair and everything. And I showed him all my storyboards. Like I wanted, like I've been drawing and trying to, make as a comic artist since I was like 14. So I showed him my storyboards, and I thought, oh, I met the famous Joe Gaiman. They're gonna hire me at DC Comics. It didn't happen, but he was super nice, and yeah, he was a cool guy. But I remember I was following his stuff when he did like Sandman and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that, and then he started doing novels, and like I read American Gods, and then I read American Gods was good, but I felt like it was a little bit clunky, especially at the ending. And then Neverwhere was even better. The Graveyard Book was like he just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah. Ocean at the end of the lane.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's his new one. Yes, awesome.
kids can read. Yeah, I read them. Kids can read those. American Gods. It's probably not appropriate for kids, but
The Graveyard Book.
Graveyard Book, Neverwhere, Ocean at the End of the
Yeah.
Lane. Kids can read those, and so I figured I'd start with that, and then a publisher picked up a hardcore horror a manuscript that I submitted called The Undertaker's Daughter, and it's very dark, very hardcore. It's designed to scare. Like you're into Lovecraft. By the time I was 8, I had read all of Lovecraft and
Yeah.
Poe and Shelley and Stoker. And by the time Stephen King made the scene, and I was there reading.
I think I've read all the same too as well. Like I've read everything by Poe and everything by Lovecraft. I've read Dracula, but I don't know if I read all of Stoker, but I really like Dracula.
Yeah, oh yeah, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's a
Awesome. Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful piece of work. One of my favorites for sure. But Poe, I have Poe pretty much memorized. That's how much I love Poe. Even the Latin bits I've committed to memory. He's the most brilliant writer of all time. But Stephen King burst on the scene. I picked him up right away. I was snapping his stuff up. I was a teenager when Carrie hit, and then Salem's Lot, and it just kept getting better and better. Pet Cemetery and all that.
Yeah,
So
I think his early stuff is great.
his
Like
early stuff is great.
Pet Cemetery, Christine, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Cujo. Like I
yep,
liked it, but then like his layer stuff seems like he kind of like lost the trail a bit. Like he got very wordy. He has
yeah.
trouble ending it sometimes.
Yeah, there's so many King fans. I don't even want to say one bad word, but I totally understand what you're saying. He's changed. He definitely has changed. But he was going for the scare.
Right.
In the beginning, for sure, he was going for the fear factor.
You
Uh,
feel the punch with his early work. Yeah.
yeah, and F. Paul Wilson. There were guys out there. And I see you read Dune.
I'm a big fan of Dune. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the best sci-fi books ever.
absolutely, no question. But I've been reading all this stuff that's classified as horror. And look, you write splatterpunk. You know, there were no categories back in my day when I fell in love with horror. It was either horror or not horror.
Right.
And
But I did like I know the last thing I put out, like my publisher describing it as speculative fiction.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
that's
what the fuck is that? It's like,
right.
oh, it's a little bit this, a little bit like I think like gothic, like kind of like a dark like sci-fi or horror, like it all kind of falls in the same genre for me. And people are making all these little tiny categories. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you into now?
Yeah, it's human nature to, I guess, try to like file cabinet everything.
Right.
It's not my nature, but yeah, to me, a hardcore Lifetime horror fan, I wasn't scared. You know what I mean by that? When you're in bed reading and you turn out the light and you got to get up to use the bathroom or whatever, you got to walk through. You first of all, your feet have to touch the ground. There could be something under the bed, the closet, the shadows, the dark hallway on your way to the bathroom. And you're wondering what could jump out. That's what I'm talking about. That kind of you read something that got you in that mindset
Yeah.
where you're
Actually, I think that's the more impactful stuff than like the gore in your face.
yeah,
I do a
yeah,
lot of illustrations for Flatted Punk, but I tend to write more along the lines of like Richard Matheson and like the people who like
yeah,
kind of build up the tension until you're
yeah,
like, holy shit.
yeah. That's the thing where you're like a kid again. You're feeling those tingles of what could be in those shadows. So I write supernatural hardcore horror. Undertaker's daughter is that. I mean, so was the kid, Dreamjacker. But it's all based on
Just not as graphic.
yeah, Dreamjacker, no profanity, no sex, no nothing that would offend a kid. It could be shelved in any school, right?
Okay.
But Undertaker's daughter can, and my latest release, The Vengeful Dead, can. Um, but
Are all these available on like Amazon or
yeah, yeah. I
Barnes
mean,
and Nobles? Are they in Kindle or are they in paperback?
well, Dreamjacker is only available through the normal online sellers, but you could go to your bookstore and order The Undertaker's Daughter and Vengeful Dead. Some bookstores do carry them, so they're available through the Ingram channel. Any bookstore can get those, just not the first one, Dreamjacker. That self-published thing, make a deal with the devil with Amazon. No one will touch it except you got to go through them to get it. But yeah,
Well, you know what I found out is you can go through draft to digital, and draft to digital you give them your manuscript, and you get to preview it to make sure things right, and they put in all the publishers like Barnes and Nobles, like Apple for Kindle, like Google, like all that stuff, and you're allowed to, like, if you self publish it on Amazon, you are allowed to go to draft to digital. It's not like you're tied to Amazon.
right, right. The Ingram Spark is the same thing, because Ingram is the distribution channel to all the bookstores, and they have 40,000 brick and mortar bookstores that order books from them. So if you use Ingram Spark to self publish, and here's a tip for anyone that wants to write self publish. Um, I think Amazon's design tool for the cover, it calculates how many pages and tells you exactly where to set publisher so you can design your cover within those exact, and you can do it there, but then you can transfer that design over to Ingram Spark and it's already done. um, but you can buy your barcode from Boker and the barcode image, ISBN 13, you buy that instead of letting Amazon just randomly assign it and stick it wherever they want on the back cover, which is the bottom right side in every case. You can buy your own, then you own it. It's transportable. It's like 150 bucks or 125, but it's not expensive. But you own that barcode, you own that ISBN, and you can put that image anywhere you want on your cover. And plus, then anyone out there who's selling books can pick it up. They don't have to go through Amazon. It's
Well,
available.
like with draft to digital, if you have your whole thing minus the barcode, they will give you a barcode just like Amazon does.
Yes, 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 yeah, and that's I self-published Vengeful Dead because I wanted more control. The publisher that picked up Undertaker's Daughter, they're making it into an audio book and doing all this cool stuff. But Vengeful Dead, I didn't want to go through anyone's copy editor telling me how to do things. I wanted to do it all exactly precisely the way I wanted to do it. Be my own boss on of this book with no input. So that's why I did self-publish Vengeful Dead, and I'm no regrets. People, I'm getting great reviews on it. The UK seems to love it. They love hardcore horror over there. But the whole point is, it's designed to scare jaded horror readers like myself. And I get these movie reels in my sleep. I see the whole thing as a movie, and then my job is to transcribe it into words. So I could be asleep and
That's
have
kind of
night.
what I do. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
understand that. Do you go
right.
with first person more often or third person? Like, how do you bring it to life?
It really depends. I would say I do very little first person, but sometimes you have to when that lead protagonist is the most important character. It's best to do first person, right? Because it's
Okay.
them telling the story and only they know all these little insights. But generally, third person limited works perfectly. You know, you have to separate you're telling the viewpoint through a protagonist in limited third person. But if suddenly you jump to another character's viewpoint, you can do that, but you have to separate it from the other very clearly. So it's tricky. A lot of authors just use omniscient, but then it's like the story, the author, like Stephen King, right? His
Yeah.
stuff is a lot of omniscient. It's him telling the story. You're hearing it from his viewpoint. Whereas I
Well,
prefer the
he's kind of
characters
developed a formula. Like I see that more with his like layered stuff. It's kind of like you know this person is going to be the crazy religious zealot. This
yeah,
person is going to be the protagonist. This person is going to be the one that you think is your best friend but stabs you in the back. Like you kind of know.
you do. You do. And
He still has some great concepts.
he does. Oh yeah, no, he's the modern master. He deserves his every bit of his success. I love Stephen King. Love him, love his work. But again, we're all different. So for me, it's limited third person, and I let the characters and their dialogue and whatnot tell the story. Nobody wants to hear from me. Who am I? It's the characters. It's their story. Let them tell it.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I try. I really am focused on scaring people. That's why I'm in the game. It's scare myself, scare others, lower the bar, if you will, back to
Well,
the
I guess
depths of hell.
I guess like if you do first person, like it is immediate, but when you third person, you can more describe everything going on because you have that omniscient narrator that kind of tells you like, oh, this came out of this dark corner, and this is what's going on. So you get a broader perspective.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You have to. Most stories are served by it. Most, but I have a couple in the Vengeful Dead. A guy he's a professional ghoul. He's a grave robber. That's what he does for his living. Until he no longer does it. You have to read the story to find out why. But all my stuff is supernatural, and he taps into something really bad, and so ends his career. But only he could tell that story.
Okay.
You know?
Did you see the Kevin and Curiosity show? Like Del Toro was kind of like the master ceremonies. They're all like
Oh,
little short episodes, like kind of like the Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt. But they have one called the Graveyard Rats. It's really good. It's about a grave robber and things don't go well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely tap that. That's another thing. Writers. Yeah. Do I get scenes, movie reels when I'm asleep or awake? Yeah, but I also do research because what's good about Stephen King, I think, his characters are no one does characters like him. They're
But it is great
believable
characters,
people.
very realistic characters.
Yeah, it's like them. You get to know them. He lets
Right.
you get to know them. So you know, I try to do that. Let people get to know these characters, and first person is the best for that. because they're telling you who they are. And if
Right.
someone tells you who they are, believe it, right? So, but they
And you
have
see the thoughts
to,
and the reflections and all that sort of stuff.
exactly. But for third person, limited or omniscient, you have to, people say authors write what you know. I don't know what it's like to feel like a serial killer.
Right.
Okay. I don't know what scares people.
That
I
would
know what
limit a lot of
scares
stuff.
me.
What about all the sci-fi? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. I don't know what an alien acts like, but you do your research because, like I wrote a story of Undertaker's daughter is about a golem. You know what that is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Fantasia the
Yeah.
brooms, you know?
Yeah.
I did a deep dive into the history of golems, and I had to in order for me to believe it.
Right.
I had to have so
No,
yeah,
I think a lot of people, like some people do their research, and I think you can really tell. And
yeah,
I know, like, I've been to like writers' conferences and conventions, and there'll be a panel, and some people are like, "Yeah, I never do research." It's like, all right, well, I'm never going to check out your book.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like Stephen King, he loves at the end of his books, or beginning or wherever, to sort of describe. Yeah, it's at the end, the acknowledgments. He thanks, like Langoliers, one of his best stories ever, right?
That was
Langoliers,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, right. He thanks the pilots that he talked to. So when
Right.
he's talking about these scenes of flight, what does he know about how to
Right.
operate a 747, right?
No,
So
but
he
that's what you should do. Like there have been so many like old TV shows. Like it would piss off my dad because my dad's military is the FFL, and like they have like the A team where like they're shooting 20 shots from a revolver,
yeah,
like
yeah, right,
it's like
right.
you should do a little bit of research before you put this out in front of the public.
Yeah, or my favorite is speaking of that, if you've ever shot firearms, and I'm a big firearm guy,
Yeah.
you
I,
know,
I have about 8 right now. My dad has literally 1,000.
yeah, yeah. I was going to say eight. Come on, those are rookie numbers. You got to pump those up.
I live in New York.
I know. It's brutal. Trust me. I'm a. I do haunted reels now to promote my. I know where you live, Long Beach, but Orange County. So I do these haunted reels to promote my work. It's marketing, I
Right.
and but it sucked me in. I mean, I'm finding out now that the membrane between the next world and this world and where spirits go, I'm hearing eyewitness testimony from guys, sober businessmen. One of them, he's a billionaire. He lives a couple doors down from Bill Gates on the Pacific Ocean, and he experienced paranormal in one of the homes in his real estate empire that he owns. It used to be General Cornwallis's house during the war, and I did a reel from there, and I right from his lips to my ear, he's scared.
Right.
Something happened, and I've got these guys that own these old taverns that are, their employees are quitting over it and stuff. So yeah, there's something to it. So
Well, I
that's
know there's
my,
lots of weird stuff out there, like whether people buy into like spirituality or whatever. Like I used to write off like almost everything paranormal because I'm like I'm not religious, but like there's a bunch of weird stuff out there, like electrons here will influence electron, like 1,300 light miles away. It's like there's all sorts of weird stuff. Like space isn't like a vacuum and that's it. Like space actually bends with gravity around things. So like we don't rotate the sun, we fall into the sun. So like
exactly.
there's all this weird stuff, and like we don't like we barely know any of it. Like if you look at like Interstellar, like fifth dimensional beings, we don't know what fifth dimensional beings are like. So it's like like when he's like in the library, like shoving like a book. I don't know if you saw the movie, but he shoves a book to his daughter because he's in the fifth dimension, but she's in the fourth dimension. But that could be entirely possible. There's a lot of weird stuff out there. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. And for horror writers, right? I couldn't write a I'm the least romantic human being that ever lived. I could never write a romance. Okay. Um, you know,
I think my girlfriend would tell you the same thing.
Right, right. Uh, I can't. Nicholas Sparks, more power to him. God love him. The world has this huge market for romance. Danielle Steele, the whole bit. It's just not me, right? Maybe there's still some
Is that the one that
frontiers,
uses like Fabio for all the novel covers and stuff?
right? I guess
Hey, if
there's
he makes the money, he makes the money. I don't, good for him.
yeah, exactly. But there's no. I don't think there's any mystery left in romance. There's different twists on it, but there's no real mystery, right? And the plots all pretty much roll out the same way. It's the same plot times a million, right? Just different characters and a few different twists. But horror is the last frontier because, like you said, fifth dimension, the true nature of space. They keep coming up with more questions than they answer. Why is it takes 13 billion years for light from the early universe to reach the Earth? How can there be fully formed stars so quickly after the Big Bang? What's
Well,
dark
they don't
matter?
even know it's 13 billion. It might be longer than that. 13 billion as far as we can make out.
Right.
And like there's even like I don't know if you've heard of multidimensional theory where they talk about
String theory.
multidimensions.
Yep.
Like, yeah, some people believe that there's like kind of a vacuum, like little bubbles to the universes, but some
Yeah.
people believe that our universe or our vacuum of space is so big that like you'll have the universe and then you just have like blank nothingness, then another universe.
Right.
Yeah. So we
Right.
don't know. There's lots of questions out there.
A universe within a universe. And
Yeah.
it's space and horror are the spirit world, the supernatural horror, not slasher horror.
Well, I don't like when people like draw this hard line between It's like you have some great like space horror like Aliens. They were great. Event Horizon that was great. So
Was.
I don't know if you could say that's only sci-fi or only horror.
Exactly.
And I know that a lot of people like maybe a little bit less these days, but they used to be like, oh well, it's a little bit sci-fi. Okay, sci-fi.
Yeah. I just What is Event Horizon? I'm thinking of the one where it's a great movie, but they space travelers from Earth come across the remains of an ancient race.
No, that's although that's kind of the purpose of the Expanse. I don't know if you saw the series The Expanse. It's really
Yeah,
good. But no, it's so they have a ship and this guy figures out a way to make it go faster than light, which technically would be impossible, but they think that what would happen is like if you opened a wormhole and went through another dimension, you could like emerge somewhere else. So he does that. He creates a drive, but the dimension it goes to is like an evil dimension of demons. So when it comes back, like all the people kill themselves, like graphic, like orgies or like
oh,
murder and stuff. Yeah,
uh, uh,
and then they get this beacon like they're like, hey, well the event horizon disappeared like 9 years ago, but now it's orbiting a far planet. I think it's Uranus or a far planet, but they're like, I don't know what it is, but that they're like go and rescue it and see what happened if there's survivors or whatever. And they
yeah,
go there and the ship is kind of like possessed, like it brought something back with it.
yeah. I think I've seen it. It's not sticking in my mind. There was something very similar. I think Ice Cube's in it. Uh,
No, that is Ice Cube's not in this one. It wasn't Ice Cube in like Ghost of Mars, I think.
yeah, Ghost of Mars. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to think of. Same thing, right? It's space,
I see, but
but
I
there's
haven't I
evil
haven't seen
there.
that. I kind of like by that point I'd given up on John Carpenter. Like he did some
Yeah.
legendary movies, you know,
Yep.
like The Thing, awesome. One of my top five.
Yep. His thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell. You can't beat that movie.
Yeah.
Uh, True horror. And yeah, space horror, right?
Yeah, no, he did a bunch of great movies. Like even when they get a little bit cheesier, up to a point, they were still really good. And then like it looks like they just dropped the budget. And I mean, he probably still cared, but like like Vampires is horrible. Ghost of Mars, I didn't see, but I heard don't watch that.
No, it's pretty good. Look, nothing will ever beat The Thing as far as his horror. And
Or They Live was
They
awesome.
Live, Escape
Yeah,
from New York. It's not horror, but it's probably one of my top movies.
right.
Escape from New York, but
Is that's an awesome Escape from New York 2 is horrible.
it's yeah, L.A. Escape
It's
from
like
L.A.
Escape from LA.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's horrible.
yeah. I hate to say it, but he, but yeah, he's good. There's
In the Mouth of Madness, that was an awesome movie. I don't know if you saw that.
yeah, Brown Jenkin, baby, Brown Jenkin.
Yeah, he kind of based that. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but he based that on Lovecraft. Like,
Yep,
so it's like this like weird world created and all. Like, I know that that might have been his ode to Lovecraft. Although the thing was pretty Lovecraft too. But
yeah.
I know that when Stephen King did The Mist, he said that was his ode to Lovecraft.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh?
He also he's notorious for not liking movies that don't directly follow his
Yeah.
original script. But that one they totally changed the ending, and he saw it. He goes, "I wish I thought of that."
I have to agree with Steven. Yeah, there's some Langoliers. It was a mini series on TV. They did an okay job with that. The Stand, original Stand, okay. Pet Cemetery, nah, they blew it. The Shining could have been better, although Jack
Oh,
Nicholson.
I like that cemetery.
Yeah, well, the original Pet Cemetery, but then there's 10 different takeoffs.
No, I don't know if I saw the takeoffs, but yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
I
original's not
like
bad.
Misery was good. Needful Things I thought was good. You
Yeah,
know, Dreamcatcher. I know a lot of
yeah.
people didn't like Dreamcatcher, but I love Dreamcatcher. It was awesome.
you, you know, you, they are smart, whoever these producers are, to hire such amazing acting talent. Yeah, Dreamcatcher's all right. You got Morgan Freeman, and
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
but Shawshank
Tommy
Redemption.
Knockers is horrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
I heard the book is really good, but the movie is
Pretty good.
horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty. The book's pretty good, but nah, the movie. But Shawshank Redemption, in my opinion, is the best movie ever made. Number one movie ever made. Better than the book. Usually it's always the book's better than the movie, but Shawshank Redemption is a game changer, that one. I never fail to watch it. I have to get it done.
I've never read the book, but I saw the movie. The movie's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of a collection. It was Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, one of his short stories in his collections. And it was good, but what they did with that movie, the soundtrack, the cinematography, the mood, the way time passes, brilliant, brilliant. There's never, and it's a love story, between
Yeah.
Red and Andy, two men,
I,
non-sexual
I
love
think
story.
it's
Great.
rare. I think it's rare when they like a book is turned into a movie where the movie's actually better than the book. But it
Yeah,
seems like often when they do a movie, but it's based off a short story and they flesh it out, it's better. Like Candyman. I don't know if you read the
yeah,
Clive Barker original and
yeah,
then you saw the movie. I thought the movie was way better than the original.
yeah.
Although I think Clive Barker is going through his heroin phase when he did that. So that might have something to do with it.
I, I love Clive. He's again I anybody from the UK, they just make every word count.
Right.
He's a true horror author. I consider him, if not, he's probably the best living true horror author. Neil Gaiman's great, but it's not true horror. You
Right.
know,
New Game is more like dark and creepy, and like Clive Barker is more like like it'll be witty, but it'll be like in your face.
oh, very much so. There's
Yeah.
a creep factor there. It's not just gore. There's a creep factor there. He makes you wonder.
Like he'll legitimately freak you out. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, I
Like
know. He's surprising. His endings are satisfying. Everything about Clive's work is just
like a Tale of Two Cities or the Yattering of the Yak is like all, yeah, I'm a big fan of stuff. He's not doing well. I've met him at a couple conventions. He's not doing well these days. It's kind of unfortunate.
What's wrong?
I don't know. I don't know. I think he had like cancer or something, but he's like how like I don't know if you saw like the old Clive Barker. He looks like a punk rocker. He looks
Yeah,
all
yeah.
like young and spry. But if you see him now, he's like all hobbled over and like he just I mean a shell of his former self. It's sad.
Man, that sucks. Yeah, we lose so many people so soon, right? Man, yeah. Look at Tim Curry, right?
Oh, did he die?
No, but he's not looking good,
Oh
man.
wow.
Like major stroke and in a wheelchair.
Oh,
We
that
loved him
sucks.
in
Yeah.
It, Rocky Horror, all that.
Yeah.
Truly one of the best horror character actors, if not one of the best period character actors. But he's not looking so good.
No, a lot of people, they're not doing well. Like a lot of like former, like Bruce Willis. Like Bruce Willis is not doing well at all.
No, no,
Michael J. Fox, you know,
that's just tragic. Just tragic. The world loves these people. We all love them. I still grieve John Candy.
right.
I still grieve. He was just the sweetest comedian. He made me laugh without going to dark places. He was just funny, funny, funny. You know.
Well, didn't I think Bill Paxton just died recently?
Yeah.
Like he's in like Near Dark is one of my favorite vampire movies ever, and he's
Yep.
amazing in that. He's in
Yep.
a bunch of really. He's like in I think Aliens. He's in a bunch of really good things, and like yeah, I would not guess he didn't seem that old or infirm or
No.
anything.
No, that was shocking. There are some real shockers recently. People you don't expect. Uh, they seem so vibrant and alive, but just goes to show, you got to prepare.
Yeah.
Like, you got to prepare. There's a wrecking ball over every head. We each owe a debt. And,
Well, this is a. I don't want to talk about myself too much, but I had brain cancer, and that's that kind of gave me the impetus. Like I got to do this, and then my wife died in a hit and run, and I was like, I could die tomorrow. I got to get this out.
uh, you have survived some of the worst crap this miserable rock can throw at a person, and you're doing well. So that's a testament to the strength of your character, and it also tells me you're a good guy, because
Thank you.
if you were a bad guy, you would have stayed on that bad track, and you wouldn't be trying to help other people, and you would just spiral down. You're on a good path, so
Well,
that,
we might all be living in the Matrix, so we all took the red pill, and
I like the movie Tron Legacy. You ever see Tron Legacy with
of
Jeff
course,
Bridges and
of course, yeah.
Olivia Wilde? Um, that's how I think things are. You know, like not with the Neo and the robots, but the way you know
Well, if you listen to
Flynn,
Elon Musk, he
Flynn,
thinks
and
that we
everyone.
might be living in simulation.
It is. We are. This all didn't happen randomly. That's no, and that's why I love horror. I mean, you can. There's still, I think, people deep down inside, they may not love God or believe, but somewhere deep down inside, they think there's another level of existence. And the closer they get to their own mortal death, the more they believe there's got to be more than just utter blankness forever. You know, take the computer with the program inside, throw it out, no repurposing of that program, nothing. Just other people, I think most, especially when their backs up against the wall, do believe there's another plane of existence. And that's what I tap, because
Well,
I do believe it. I do.
they had a famous French atheist, like lives, I think, the 1800s, and they said, "Well, you should repent right before you die, just in case." Because, look, it's no time to be making enemies now.
Yeah, yeah. Or Roadhouse, right? With the late great Patrick Swayze. That was a
Yeah.
shocker, right? You had
Yeah.
brain
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
pancreatic took him out, And that's amazing that you survived. Was it glioblastoma or what was it?
Medulloblastoma. Yeah.
Oh, okay, less aggressive than glio. Oh, thank God. So you're probably going to live a very long life.
Well, unless we're in the Matrix.
Unless we're in the Matrix and someone decides
I
to
came to
pluck
realize
you
the
out.
obvious. They said
Right.
the truth.
They
Yeah.
disconnect
Any minute.
something or change the code, you know.
Yeah, yeah, just that's it for Dan.
It could
Delete.
happen.
No, you won't get deleted. You're going to go somewhere else. I'm telling you. But yeah, that movie Tron Legacy, it's a real parallel to how I see things. You know.
Like
So
I've seen the original Tron a bunch of times. I think I've seen Legacy once, and I don't think it compared. But then it's kind of hard. Like there are movies that I see now that I saw when I was a kid that I thought were amazing. And I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? Like the Last Starfighter. Last
yeah,
Starfighter was awesome when I saw it. And you watch it now, you're like, dude, it's so cheesy. Like when a ship gets hit, like you shake the camera, so it looks like the ship.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's I grew up on the original when it was live and in real time. Star Wars or Star Trek. You know.
I
Did
actually saw all the Star Wars movies except for the first one in the theater.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The kid I went to school with, he died young, motorcycle accident. He was a tattoo artist and a graphic artist, Mike Tancredi. Love that kid. He was in tech school with me, but he was doing real well, and until he killed himself. But he went to the movies back when Star Wars was in the theater. I went once. He went 57 times.
I
It was
went twice. I had to go 57.
Yeah, 57. He was so obsessed. That's why I don't say a bad word about the franchise. You know, I
Right,
watch it, it's entertaining. To some people, it's almost a religion. I
right.
get it. But yeah, the special effects, whatever, something in light, the company they hired for that doesn't compare to the CGI stuff that you can do now.
Well, I think smart thing he did, and well, in particular, because I don't want to drag this on forever, but I think one smart thing he did is like he read a lot into like ancient like myths and legends, and he incorporated a lot of that into it.
He
So
did.
it has like a more complex feel to it.
It does. It does. It's layered. Um, yeah, but there was some great old stuff. In my book, I Am Legend. Will Smith. Now I'm friends with Hollywood horror movie producers. One of my good friends for 20 years has over 50 movies to his credit. Okay, and we just talked last week. We argue. He's good friends with Rob Zombie, and those two have collaborated on a bunch of projects. And we argue. He loves what you love most. There's a lot of gore with a hint of paranormal, hint of supernatural. Um, I Am Legend, I argue, is the scariest horror movie ever made. Will Smith. That movie
I
freaked
like the
me
book.
out.
I like the book a lot better than the movie. But I mean, it's kind of hard to go, well, they didn't capture the book, so but the movie's so good. Like there's some stuff like American Psycho. Like
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I first saw the movie, I was like, oh, the book is so much better,
yeah,
But then later on, I was like, well, it was a really good movie. They probably couldn't do everything without making it like X-rated.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. No, it's funny, but there's a little something for everyone in horror, really. But I have a trigger warning, blanket trigger warning at the front of my books because I look, if you're part of the tribe that gets triggered for any reason, I don't want you reading my stuff.
You're
Okay?
right.
I don't want the bad reviews on Goodreads and Amazon. Oh, he triggered me. Just avoid it. If you have stuff you're carrying around, baggage, I want the people that want to be scared. No baggage. They're not being scared by what's out there now. They want to take it to another level of fear, or crank it back to the old days of fear. That's who I want. Okay, not
But I
second
see people
readers. I don't want to hurt them.
leave reviews, and they're like, hey, why do you have curse words in there? Horror didn't need curse words.
Yeah.
That's not a fucking review.
No, no, no. Look, it's a horrible world. I'm grossed out by the ISIS execution videos. Like
Right.
I felt really offended and bad and triggered. I'll use these words, but I felt like crap watching those real execution videos, high res soundtracks. It was like Hollywood level production value of pe- inhumanity to man. Okay. So if I'm writing fiction and I have some gruesomeness in there or whatever, don't get offended at me. Why go to the romance section? If you think horror is the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, it's it's a love story with
I'm
a
sure some
ghost.
people do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot. And my stuff's going to trigger you. It's going to offend you. I'm looking for that hardcore horror fan, who's tired of not being scared, that feels no tingles of fear anymore. They're jaded. They've reached their saturation point with modern horror, and they want to feel scared again.
Right.
That's who I want reading my stuff. The rest of you, stay away. Seriously, I don't need your money. I
Okay.
don't need it. I don't
Yeah.
want it.
Yeah.
So, I want the horror fans, the real hardcore horror fans. So,
Okay, well, that's just it. And I think that's why people should like especially look into like indie horror and like do a little bit of like a deep dive into this stuff, because if you just look at what Hollywood presents as like the current state of horror, it probably is not, because the good stuff doesn't get made. The good stuff
exactly.
doesn't like get put out by the publishers, because a lot of the big publishers, you know, fortunately and unfortunately, they're interested in what brings in dollars. So,
Yep.
it might be a great story, but if it's like an unknown product, they're unwilling to try it. Like they'd rather make like Friday the 13th part like 27,
Yeah. And I don't blame them. That's what happens when suits penetrate any business, And I'm
Right.
a businessman. I get it. Big corporate is all about minimizing risk. But, Amazon didn't get to be the world's largest retailer by following the herd and not taking risks. They took all the risks, and they
Right.
buried Walmart, they buried everyone. It's all about innovation and risk. And you are right. And yeah, I guess Netflix and some of these smaller, they're still taking risks, Amazon.
Well, I saw Netflix. They tried to sell like in the early days when they were doing that well. They tried to partner up with Blockbuster, and they got laughed out. Like Blockbuster's like, yeah, nobody's gonna be your shit. And look who's on top now.
There's only one blockbuster left. I saw a special on it. They're holding out, Oh man, yeah, no, it's all about innovation, and you're right. Indie, we're there's so many of us out there. That's why I market myself very heavily, which is something I learned in business. I was in charge of marketing for decades, VP of a software company, and I learned, like Ben Franklin, right, founding father, owned a press. It was a competitive printing market in Philadelphia at the time. He would deliberately, instead of hiring horses, put these big rolls of paper in this little rickety wooden cart and push it through the heart of town so everyone would see him. That
Yeah,
is marketing brilliance. And
I,
his,
I think that's what you gotta do. Like if you look at
yeah,
like it's more modern, but like you look at Black Flag, like nobody gave anybody the time of day, especially if you're like a punk rocker. So they would like print out flyers and post them everywhere. They invite everyone. They do a lot of marketing, and I mean, look at them now. Like Henry Rollins, like he's a multi-millionaire. He's been on like a bunch of TV shows. He had his own TV program. But it's like this is a guy that used to sell ice cream in DC.
yep, yep. Huge game changing events never come out of big corporate.
Right.
It's just a fact, I mean, look at the music you and I grew up on. What are the chances of a Led Zeppelin springing up today, or a Pink Floyd, or a Jethro Tull? It was all very experimental, and it was DJs playing this stuff, and the public, they created the demand. Now it's all stamped out corporate stuff. It all sounds the same. It's a group of five guys writing all the songs for all these people, and it all sounds pretty much the same. Where's the risk? You want good new rock and roll, you got to go to the UK.
Or
Or
you make it in the indie scene, and then when you're a big name, then they go, "Oh, wait, you're a talent. Okay, we'll hire you."
exactly, yeah, I don't. I'm not in it for, like, I'm not sitting there like a kid in a garage, playing my guitar like Eddie Van Halen, hoping to be the world's greatest guitarist. That's not my thing. I want to find my audience and scare them, really scare them. Then I'm happy.
Right.
And I had one reviewer write, an adult male wrote, he read one of my stories. He said, "This scared the sleep out of me. Literally, I could not sleep. Mic drop. I can die. I can retire. I That's what I'm looking for right there."
Oh, he might have been super sensitive, so you don't know.
What's that?
You might have been super sensitive, he gets scared when he crosses the street. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Not to take away your thunder. I'm just saying.
yeah, no. If that's the case, then fine. I don't care. But he didn't insult it. He wasn't triggered. He was happy. He
Right.
was happy. He said, "This was the best story I've read." And I'm hearing that from other people with some of these Vengeful Dead stories. That's the thing. If I'm reaching the right people that I want to reach, I'm happy. I don't need to reach the entire world. I don't need to be a corporate suit, marketing giant, grab the most dollars or whatever. I don't need it. I want to reach my audience. And that makes me happy, really happy. When
Well,
you
I
can't
think
sleep.
I
Yes.
think the people who just try and put out like good material,
Yeah.
like Neil Gaiman, like I don't think Neil Gaiman thought he would be where he is now when he was like 21.
No.
He's just like doing his best, and then he got enough people putting out his stuff that it just slowly evolved, and then him putting out his unique stuff became the end thing.
Yeah, he didn't do marketing. I mean, he did the conferences, the trade shows, whatever you call them, the
Well,
hard.
back in those days, it was kind of hard to do marketing. I
Yeah,
mean, like early 90s.
well, yeah, reach out and touch the audience, go to every horror con, and that's one way to market. But yeah, the internet didn't really happen. I mean, it existed, but it didn't really become ubiquitous until 1996, really. So, I worked for companies that took advantage of it, tech companies. So, yeah, you had to go out and face people, but now it's all Instagram reels and, 1 million followers here. And, it's
Videos and TikTok.
TikTok, it's amazing. People are becoming stars that never would have been given a chance by corporate, and that's great. Indie voices are being heard thanks to the internet. So, I'm taking advantage of it, getting the word out. But yeah, the traditional publishers, I don't know what's going to happen. It's down to like four now.
Oh, they're dying. Like every a lot of like all the mainstream sources are dying. Like the mainstream news channels, the mainstream like movie producers, all that stuff. Like they're doing very poorly. And I think part of it is like they like when they go, wait a minute, we're doing poorly on something, so we'll double down on
Yeah, right, right.
and they're like, either they're like, well, we just, we're doing something that's unpopular, but like maybe if we just do it a little bit more polished, it'll be better. But then, their numbers keep going down, or they go, yeah, well, now we're doing bad. We're definitely not going to take a chance on anything cool.
Exactly. It's a totally different thing. I mean, look, I'm sure at Simon and Schuster, a suit calls a suit at Costco and says, you know, we've got a new book from Stephen King or Lee Child or whatever. Do you want 400,000 or do you want half a mil? I can give you a bulk discount. That's great. That's great. But the people that rely on buying books at Costco are never going to find the innovators out there. They're just going to find the same,
And that's not even really what happens anymore. Like it seems like everybody knows that you don't get like the cool stuff from like the big store, like the big mall stores or whatever, because that's just not a thing anymore.
Yeah, yeah. No, indie is hot. It has its growing fan base. Indie authors, I'm tapped into so many, and they friend me and send me these. And there's a big network of people that just only want to read indie. You know,
Yeah.
they know they figured it out. Just like you're a rock and roller, I'm a rock and roller, but EDM, that's the Wild West. Electronic dance music. There is phenomenal music coming out of Ibiza and Spain and the Netherlands and Sweden and UK and South Africa and but you won't hear it because they don't get paid. They don't get paid the same way.
Right.
They it's
I
like
think people are learning more to do the research rather than like just going to like the local Kmart and buying it. Like now they're like, hey, let me look at my phone. And that's why like what you said about marketing really helps. Like if you market it so people see your shit, now people are more open to that. They don't go, oh wait, it's not put out by Tor Books, I'm not gonna buy it. No, they go, oh, this is interesting, I'll give it a try.
yeah, exactly. It's not that expensive. I mean, if you obviously you need to spend money to make money, but Amazon ads very reasonable. You can get 500,000 impressions for $350. Ingram has marketing.
I
You
find
know,
that Facebook ads do really well too.
Facebook ads, Instagram boosts. Yeah, Meta. We'll call it the Meta family. Meta boosts. That
The
really
meta universe.
the metaverse.
Yes,
The,
exactly.
Billy. Yeah, he's something else. That one, but they're hurting. So that it's good deals. Um, and Instagram's far more popular than Facebook at this point. TikTok and Instagram Reels are where it's at.
But
Not stories,
those
not
just
posts.
revived. It seems like a bunch were coming on like vines or whatever. And
Yeah,
they're like a
yeah,
flash in the pan. They're gone.
yeah. It's young people. They some young people probably haven't even heard of Facebook, or it's like a vague memory of when we
They're
used
like,
to
can I
get
find
ice
that on my
delivered.
phone?
Yeah, yeah. When you used to get ice delivered, and then GE came out with electric refrigeration. That's how young people
Dude, I
today
remember
think
we used
of
to get
Facebook.
milk delivered.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Charles Chips, Charlie's,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. No, it's kids are using WhatsApp and all these other communication tools, Telegram, and it keeps changing, but they are not using Facebook, but they still use Instagram.
Right.
So
I'm
yeah.
surprised that Twitter's even out there anymore because it seems like a lot of like the like older like writers and actors and whatever they like that, but I don't think any of the younger generation even pays attention to Twitter.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, and plus, I never trusted it, Dan. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, this is rare for me to just talk freely when I know other people are going to see it. Just speak my mind. I like to think about what I'm going to say before I say it, because who am I going to offend? Who am I going to hurt? You got to be cautious today. You're walking on eggshells, right? Um, I like to think about things, but X, Twitter, you know, you're just in a mood and it's 12 o'clock at night or you're tired and you just put something out there. And once it's out there forever. And
Right.
you didn't think about it. So,
Well, I think it goes for Facebook too.
yeah, I guess somebody could snapshot it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Twitter just seems they make it so easy to just gush whatever mood you're in at the moment. And Yeah, I like to think about things.
Right. A little more contemplative. Yeah.
Yeah, just be cautious, be thoughtful, not just go out there and gush. I mean, we all have moods. I don't want to put something out there when I'm in a, Conan the Barbarian mood. That's definitely going to piss someone off out there, you know. So, oh well.
All right, man. So let's wrap this up. Tell me where people can get a hold of you, where they can see your work, where it's available.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do, Dan. It's my name, which is three words, two saints and a Minster. John James Minster, no spaces. .com. And John James Minster on Insta and John James Minster on Facebook. So it's just remember John James Minster and you'll find me very easily.
Okay, awesome. And all of your stuff is mostly available on Amazon. Like you're seeing something exclusive about Amazon.
Well, Dreamjacker, my first self-published, which I did through them. I'm in a bunch of collections and stories that are not self-published, but anthologies and whatnot. But real novels, real full-length books, three. Yeah, Amazon. I think you can get it through other places besides that. Amazon has this network. What's the other one? Barnes and Noble, and there's like three of them that Amazon serves. Big online sellers. Wherever you buy books online, you can find all my stuff. Or you can take pity on your local bookstore that took a beating during the COVID lockdowns.
There are too many of those left. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I have full heart for these people.
Yeah.
They're they love what we love, Dan, books, stories, but they can barely feed themselves. So yeah,
Right.
I tell people go to your bookstore, order it. You'll pay a little more, but you're keeping something alive that we need as a
Yeah, no, I
as
agree.
a family, a human family. We need bookstores.
And there's indie bookstores. It's like there's stuff where people like I can get that if I go to Ace Hardware, I can get that cheaper on Amazon. But it's not that way with books.
No, no, yeah, you'll pay a little more for a bookstore book, but it isn't that way if you're on Ingram. 1999 on Ingram, it's 1999, right? That's the price of the book, right? You go to a bookstore, they might mark it up a little for their trouble, but they should sell it at suggested retail
Well,
1995.
they probably get it at like a seller discount, so they probably sell it at like what the going rate is. Like I know a lot of people like Max Shop too. Like when I get stuff for my dog at the pet supplies place, I go, "Hey, I can get that on Amazon for the I'll match the price."
Exactly. Yeah. No, they get a 40% discount.
Yeah,
When they buy it, from the publisher, they get a huge discount. You're absolutely right.
but you also get like the people behind the counter, like they're readers. They'll be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this book excites me. This is why it excites me." So
Yeah.
that's where the good feedback is.
It was one of them that turned me on to Neil,
Yeah.
I don't know, 12, 15 years ago, whenever it was. So, yeah. Yeah.
But all right, do you have a Amazon authors page or a website?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, John James Minster. And any of my book titles will bring in there too. Dreamjacker, Dreamjacker, uh, The Undertaker's Daughter, and The Vengeful Dead,
Okay,
latest,
awesome.
which is
And
scary.
you're John James Minster on or on Amazon, like the author page.
Yeah, that's it. And Amazon everywhere. I'm talking to somebody now in the UK. They said they couldn't find me. I went on to Amazon UK and typed in John James Minster, and I came right up. So,
Yeah,
I
it's funny. You have to like put every little digit in there, or like they can't find you because there's so many people now.
Dan Henk. I should have shortened John James Minster. It's too many letters. Dan Henk. That's easy to find. Just go with Henk. There's only one.
Well, not real. Henk is probably it's a very common German first name. And when my grandparents came before the war, they probably had this complex German last name, and they're in Ellis Island. And Ellis Island was like, "We're not dealing with this. This is your name."
Yeah. Yeah.
So that happened to a lot of people. So, but all right, man. Well, thank you very much for doing this podcast. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. I think it was a good conversation. Do you have anything else you want to
No, I want to thank you very much, Dan, and wish you all the best and
add?
prayers for your brain, brother.
I don't know if this is any hope for my brain, but thank you. Thank
No,
you
I
for
meant the illness, not the mental illness,
that.
the physical illness. You're in my prayers.
All right. All right. Thanks, man.
Take care.